Hello, Global Theater. My name is Gerry Fialka. Today is January 27, 2026. I want to thank Rob Grant and his amazing podcast. I'm probably wrong about everything. Please subscribe. Want to welcome today's guest, Reg Bloor. Where are you calling from, Reg?
New York City.
How cool is that? The first question is, what is the best thing for a human being?
Food.
Food. I like that answer. What's your favorite form of information? How it comes into you?
Music.
Yep, I like that too. Why do you think humans collect or gather information?
I think it's instinctual.
Yeah, that is the next question was, is this more innate or more invented? But besides being instinctual, your hunch or guess, why do we do it?
Um, to survive.
Yeah.
I mean, I was reading this article. I'm not an anthropologist or anything, and this might be too simplistic, but we know now that humans are a chimera of ancient humans and Neanderthals and probably other hominids. And supposedly, the ancient humans gathered and stored information and shared information, but they weren't as creative. And the Neanderthals were more inventive, but they didn't store the information. They would just invent a tool on the spot and then throw it away. So modern humans do a combination of
Of
both.
both. That is such. I needed that. Do you know where you read that?
I do not remember where I read
Okay.
that.
Anyways, I need that kind of stuff, and I love it. Do thoughts create emotions?
um, I think they create each other.
Yeah. Fill in the blank. I don't know what I think until I.
Step back and realize that the thoughts aren't me.
That they're not you. Where did you learn that from? Is there any sort of roots in how you learn to articulate it that way?
Well, I think it's a common meditation technique to step back and see your thoughts as external, and to just kind of
Yeah.
watch them go by and know that isn't you, that's just a
Yeah.
passing thing. It's a common meditation technique.
And is it Eastern philosophy oriented by saying meditation, or is it something different?
I think it's I don't know where it originated. It is Eastern. It's also Greek and Stoic.
Yeah.
Well, a lot of different techniques, a lot of different philosophies say that.
Can humans think without language?
Yeah, you can think in pictures, you can think in images, you can think in feelings.
Yeah. Chomsky says language is not just words. It's a culture, a tradition, a unification of community, a whole history that creates what a community is. What do you do when language doesn't work? When language breaks down, what do you do?
Um, Show emotion, I guess.
Wow. You anticipate, you have ESP. The next question is exactly that. Your observations of humans in general, are we more thinking beings or more feeling beings?
I think we're more feeling beings.
Yeah.
I think we create thoughts to justify our feelings most of the time.
Yeah, Bridget Bardot says, when I make love, I don't think. And I'm like, good luck. And people who meditate go, okay, now think about not thinking. And there's a bumper sticker on a car in my street and it says, don't believe everything you think. And I'm like, well, you could say, don't believe everything you feel.
Yeah.
These are two from Alan Turing in the 50s. One, is thinking a function of the soul?
No, I
Yeah.
think it obscures the soul.
Yeah. The second Turing is, can machines think?
No.
Do you more pursue happiness or more pursue meaning?
Happiness.
Yeah.
I don't believe life has meaning. But I think that in an absurdist way and not in a
Yeah.
nihilistic way.
Oh, that's good. Absurd, nihilistic. Okay, because I got the question from Viktor Frankl's books, Man's Search for Meaning, and I'm curious your thoughts on this. He says, happiness doesn't tend to last, meaning tends to last.
Um, I tend to find it liberating that life has no meaning.
Right. It's good. It's liberating because I stopped asking this question, but I'm going to shoot it in now. It's like number 34. Why is it so difficult for humans to consider the possibility that life may be pointless? Now, I'm not saying life is pointless. I'm saying, why is it hard for humans to consider the possibility that it might be pointless?
I don't know. I don't find it difficult.
I interviewed this guy. I think he was a big hotshot music writer in LA, and he brought, like, I used to do these in coffee houses, and he brought like 40 of his friends, and they were all sitting there, and I asked him that question. He goes, we all know it's pointless. It's not hard for us to believe. And I was like, wow. So does the brain more detect consciousness or create it? Like, is consciousness there bubbling away and we're more so detecting it or more so creating it?
I think our conscious mind is detecting it. I think we're more ruled by our unconscious, and I don't know where that comes from. But I think our conscious mind just comes up with an excuse for it.
Well, that's funny because I think it's like Lakoff of neuroscientists, linguists say that we're operating 80% unconsciously or subconsciously. And it's like, we've been here for 7 minutes together, and I felt we were here both conscious 100%. But it is like you're saying, there is something unconscious going on, but I mean, would you agree we're sort of like 20% thinking we're conscious and really we're 80% unconscious?
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. What's faster, speed of light or speed of thought?
Speed of light. Thought's pretty slow.
Hey, you're doing great. Audre Lorde, the poet, said you can't dismantle the master's house using the master's tools. Her colleague Yvonne Rainer said, oh, you can if you expose the tools. What new tool do you suggest?
Chainsaw.
Oh, that's one of my favorite. And I welcome anecdotes, stories, tangents. So I saw this woman who was in the Runaways with, Jones Jett's early band.
Yeah.
And I forgot what her name is, but they showed the fiction Hollywood movie of them, and then she spoke afterwards. And for the last 10 years, I don't know, she was doing art by taking a chainsaw and shaving big hunks of wood. And the guy asked the question, he goes, so like between, he said some accurate date, like between the 70s and 80s, what were you doing? And she literally went like this. And it was like you went from that hitting the slopes to chainsaw sculpture. So I asked people the tool question. Then people would say, well, what about a toy? So what's a toy you gravitate towards?
Guitar.
Guitar. What a great toy. I love it. Okay. What do you worry about when you go to bed at night?
I don't know what I'm going to do tomorrow, I guess.
Yeah. And that's, again, I welcome saying, I don't know, I can't answer that is totally legit. I'm not trying to put you on the spot, but yeah, what I'm going to do tomorrow, I'm the same way. But my mom, when she died, I went to the service and I said, there's a lot of people in this room that worry that Dolores worried too much. And to me, my mom was just concerned. But some people said that's worry. So is there a difference between worry and concern, or are they pretty much the same thing?
Um, I think concern is when you can do something about it and you do it. I think worry is when you can't do anything about it and you become preoccupied with it.
Yeah. Beautiful. McLuhan learned from the poet Ezra Pound that artists are the antenna of the race. Like musicians, artists, they're broadcasting and detecting the hidden psychic effects of our inventions. So we might learn how to cope with what we don't like about our inventions. So I ask you the question Marshall probed his whole career. Why do we ignore the hidden psychic effects of our inventions, even though the artists are broadcasting them to us?
Because people make money off of.
Boy, you're knocking them out of the park. You are smart. I'm really honored. This is fun. Do artists have moral obligation?
Yeah. Yeah, I think you're responsible for the effects of what you do on the world,
Yeah,
whether they're what you intended or not. I think you're responsible for them.
yeah. Are you more afraid of new ideas or more afraid of old ideas?
Old ones.
Yeah. Can you conjure up your earliest memory ever or one of them?
I can remember sitting on the floor and seeing all these legs walking around and knowing that I did not know how to do that.
Wow.
That's the earliest thing I can remember.
Is memory more a curse or more a blessing?
Hmm. I think it's both.
Yeah. Tell me someone within your immediate family who had an impact on you, and what specifically was that impact?
Um, does that count my former husband?
You, in essence, you can. The next question is someone outside your immediate family, but that's totally appropriate. I mean, your husband is your immediate family, I would say, and you can put any of these in the context you want. So, yeah, you can go with your former husband.
Yeah, Glenn. For people who don't know, my late husband was the composer Glenn Branca. He was everything for 18 years of my life. And I wouldn't be who I am if I hadn't met him.
How would you summarize what's the main thing you got from him?
Just the way he looked at the world, you know, just the way he set himself slightly outside as an observer on the world.
Yeah, beautiful. And same question, outside your immediate family, someone who had an impact on you, and what was the impact?
I think honestly, all the people who let me down had the impact of making me realize that I had to do everything on my own.
Oh, that's good. Yeah. You don't even have to name names. It's just all the people who
They are.
they know. I love it. Okay. Did your parents raise you a particular religion?
We were kind of in and out of church. I did go to a friend's church for a while because a friend went there. Um, my parents ostensibly Christian to varying degrees over the years, but yeah.
Do you pray?
I don't, but I meditate. I don't know if that's the same thing.
Yeah. If God does exist, what would you like God to say to you after you die?
You want to go again?
I love it. This one guy goes, I would let him say, I checked the record. We messed up. You're going back. um, do evil people exist, or does evil use people as a vehicle?
I think actions are evil. I don't think people are evil.
Yeah. The real hidden question is, how do you advise someone to deal with an enemy? And I'll set up with a few thoughts. Alan Watts says, if you acknowledge your enemy, you empower them. Coppola stole from the Mom and the Samurai, keep your friends close and your enemies closer. JFK said, forgive your enemy, but don't forget their name. And Fellini says, I need an enemy. So it's a lot of thoughts. The basic question is, how do you advise someone to deal with an enemy? But first, how would you respond to Alan Watts? If you acknowledge your enemy, you empower them.
I think you have to figure out why they're your enemy.
Yeah.
Are they your enemy because they are a threat to you, or are they an enemy because you feel like they're a threat to you?
Yeah.
And is that you or is that them?
Wow. Well, it follows perfectly with the Nassim Taleb quote. Games were created to give non-heroes the illusion of winning. In real life, we don't know who wins or loses, but we can tell who a hero is. Gregory Bateson says, oh, if the criminal gets caught, does he go, whoa, my criminal skills weren't up to snuff? Or does he go, oh, I did something morally and socially wrong? So again, it's a lot of prompts. The basic question is, does punishment work?
I think deterrence works. I think punishment is more to make us feel better.
Yeah.
Than it is to correct behavior. But I think deterrence works better than punishment.
What's an example of the deterrent? If we found someone who's doing society wrong, what would be an example of a deterrent? Or how would you suss that out?
I mean, the way we do it in society is we make an example of them to deter other people, but we don't do a very good job of dealing with them,
Yeah.
We don't do a very good job of reforming them.
Yeah. Yeah. Reform, rehabilitation is the words I get a lot in regard. Thank you. Deterrent is a great word. Okay. James Joyce was the first projectionist in Dublin 100 years ago. He basically checked out. He said, this is stupid. Why should I go inside a building and see a movie of a tree when I can go outside and see a real tree? Years later, Faulkner said, sometimes the best fiction is more true than journalism. Why do we have to recreate things in order to get them? Why do we have to go to a theatrical play of people acting out life? Why don't we just live life?
I think that we like something that has a beginning, a middle, and an end. And we like something that makes sense. And life doesn't make sense. And it doesn't have a neat beginning, a middle, and an end. And I think we crave something that does.
Yeah. That's Jean-Luc Godard says, I believe in beginning, middles, and ends, but not necessarily in that order. Walk us through where's your tipping point? A little like the history of your music consumption. What are your parents playing around the house? How are you hearing music early on? Then did you go to high school and start taking guitar lessons? Did they tell you to, or you picked it? And then did you study? And then we know you studied at Berkeley. But where's that tipping point in telling us your history that you went, that's my calling?
It was when I started playing guitar. I took piano lessons when I was 5 years old for about 4 years.
Because your parents told you, or you picked it?
I picked it. My mom was really flaky when I was a kid, so she'd go through these phases like, oh, the kids are all going to take piano lessons, or that would last 2 weeks, and the kids are all going to take gymnastics lessons, whatever. And the piano lessons happened when I was 3 years old, and she decided I was too young. So
Yeah.
ever since then, I wanted to take piano lessons.
Oh, she got, and you mean kids, meaning you had brothers and sisters.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
And so ever since then, I wanted to play the piano. So when I was 5, then the opportunity came up to take lessons from a church lady.
Yeah.
And of course, my mother said, "You know, all the great ones start when they're 3." So, I did that for about 4 years, and my dad made me quit. And then after my parents split up, my mother wanted me to take lessons again, and I said I wanted to take drum lessons, and we compromised on guitar because she thought it would piss off my dad, and, which he didn't care, but, it was when I started playing guitar, I realized this is it, this is for me.
So that's age what about?
12.
Age 12 is guitar. What are you listening to? Is there specific genres, or it's whatever the parents played or your
When I
peer?
was 12, it was heavy metal.
It
That
was
was
heavy metal. Yeah.
Yeah, that was it was the '80s, you know, that's what was on TV, and,
Yeah. You know, they asked, what's the best era of science fiction? The 20s, the 40s, the 60s, 80s, you know, what's the best? And the answer is when you're a teenager. So isn't it amazing? Like between 12 and 18, that's the music that sort of sticks with us the rest of our life. You know,
yeah, I don't know. I guess so. I mean, definitely the stuff I heard at that time is stuff that it does stick with me, and it wouldn't if I hadn't heard it at that time,
yeah,
but it's not primarily what I listen to now. It's
right, right,
more
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I'm saying, are you going to college pre Berkeley to study music too? Did you study music in high school and college?
I took some music classes, what classes they had at my high school, and I took guitar lessons, and I went to Berkeley right out of high school.
I see. Was it worth it? Was Berkeley good?
Um, I'm not sure it's worth what it costs,
Yeah.
but the information is worth learning, yeah.
Do you think it's rich kids? Berkeley is mainly rich kids, or is it all types?
I think it's largely upper middle class, at least.
And do you think they're all saying, "I want to be a rock star," or do they want to be, uh, you know? I mean, what did you find your fellow students' motive was to go to Berkeley?
Well
Yeah, majorly, you know, your observation.
well, I went there during the, Steve Vai, Joe Satriani era, so there were a lot of shred guitar players, but, Berkeley, you have to have a major in addition to just your instrument, so it's a lot of people going into film scoring or going into, like, music production engineering or music business.
Yeah,
Um, it's not necessarily people who wanna be, music artists. It's a lot of people who wanna be in the business on some level, but
yeah,
not necessarily as performers.
right. So a screenwriting teacher told me great art is when you can clearly see the intention of the maker. Kubrick says the opposite. Great art is when you can clearly not see the intention of the maker. When you're writing a piece of your own music, it's not commission or assignment or anything. You're writing your own piece of music because you're a composer, right?
Yeah.
You're composing your own piece of music. What role does intention play?
Um, for me, it starts with the idea, and I kinda want people to get the idea. Yeah. Um, or at least the intended emotion, the intended feeling from it.
Yeah. Duchamp said there's no art without an audience. How much are you thinking of your potential listener when you're writing your song?
Um, well, I'm my first audience, you know? I think if I like it, then somebody else must
Yeah,
like it. I don't think I'm that unique, so I think I write for myself first, and I write to connect with other people who are like me. So
Yeah.
if they like it, they're probably like me.
McLuhan says everything we invent extends some humanness, like a human sensorium. Knife and fork extends our teeth. Shutter in a camera might extend our eyelid, and maybe even non-tangible, say religion or philosophy, might extend consciousness. What does the guitar extend for you? What humanness?
Um, Probably voice.
Voice. Let's go into music. This is Aaron Copland said the four elements or ingredients of music. Wait, we should do this first. Sorry. What's the function of music? Sorry.
It's um it's to tell people they're not alone.
Oh my God, that is real. To tell people they are not alone. That is beautiful. I'm going to read you some because I've been asking this question for 40 years and I've got a list and I'm just wondering your reactions to some of them. The first one is there is no function of music. Igor Stravinsky gave lectures on music means nothing. John Cage said the function of music is to soothe the soul and make it susceptible for divine intervention.
That's a good one.
Mickey Hart, the Dead drummer, said it's a warning system. It's like you can survive better. It's like, you know, you're telling communication. You hit on the log, they're coming to steal our food. My friend Dylan Busson says it's the function of music is to dance.
To dance together, I assume, you know, that
There you go. That's it.
Together, you're not alone.
That's it. And Norman Zamchek says to keep us from going insane.
I don't think it's working.
David Moss said it's the sound of being alive.
That's a good one.
And then these are all pretty much we know. Entertainment, pleasure, nostalgia, express creativity. One you said, connection, community, ceremony, ritual, learning, stir emotion. Now, Brett Fisher told me self-awareness. Is that sort of what? No, to tell people they are not alone. Yeah. Okay. Now, this is the one that I always stop on. Well, healing is another good one. But this is the one I'm curious. The function of music is to hypnotize people to be themselves.
That's interesting.
What do you think that means?
I think it means to turn off the thoughts that are in the way of yourself.
Turn off thoughts. That's good. And then this is Edgar Varese. He said it was to organize sound. Varese emphasized timbre and rhythm over traditional melody and harmony. So, you know, I wanted to go into these four elements that Copland sort of distinguished, and there's probably more, but he said the four elements or ingredients of music are melody, harmony, rhythm, and tone color. In non-academic terms, what would you say? What is tone color?
Tone color is which overtones are emphasized. I don't know. You said in non-academic, but
yeah, but I mean that's all right. But then suss out what is an overtone. To a normal person, they might not go, "Oh, I don't know what that is."
Well, it's when you hear a fundamental tone, and then you hear the notes above that. to varying degree.
Yeah.
And I've actually been working a lot with the harmonic series, and the 12 tones of Western music are based on the order of those overtones.
Yeah.
Somewhat, they're rounded off.
And then, the question is, how do you integrate focus? Do you have a favorite melody, harmony, rhythm, and tone color? Is there any ritual in your composition? Do you favor one? How do you integrate? Any thoughts on those four?
I usually start with harmony.
Yeah.
Well, disharmony. I'm interested in consonance and dissonance, which, I mean, all music is based on that, but I'm interested in exploring kind of the extremes of that.
Yeah. Where did you first hear disharmony?
Well, it's interesting. Learning music theory and being told what not to do led me to be aware of how inside the rules I had been playing. I think the most insidious rules are ones you don't know you're following. So once they're pointed out, then I started thinking, well, what if you did do that? What if you did play the stuff you're not supposed to? I think music theory is a history. So if you want to play something that doesn't sound like what's already been done, you go outside of that. And so learning what had been done showed me what hadn't.
Showed you, but I'm kind of fishing for a specific, like, I come from the Frank Zappa world, and there's one song at the end of, I think, Weasels, where it's just like total noise, just in, for some reason you probably figure, well, I'll put this at the last song on the side of the album. But he came out of Perez, Stockhausen, Stravinsky, Bartok, all these people who are taking, Eric Dolphy, Sun Ra, Cecil Taylor, and is there anyone who you heard early on doing that sort of went, oh, I kind of see they're doing something different?
I kind of thought of it and then went looking for it.
I see. And who'd you first find?
I was probably like the Butthole Surfers or somebody like that.
That is classic. I worked for Zappa, and Gibby called the Zappa hotline, and he literally went, yeah. I said, wow, how great. And he says, I went to my record store and they had Frank Zappa audio cassettes when they were selling cassettes on this shelf. And he goes, but record stores won't sell my cassettes. But I can sell out any club in America. They were successful.
Right.
And he goes, I goes, duh, maybe it's the title of your CD. And I wanted, do you know Gibby or any of the Butthole Surfers?
Yeah, not personally, no.
It's because the watch the 2-minute trailer on the documentary that just came out. It is just classic, because it's all these, sort of hotshot rock stars going, these guys are great, but I don't know. It's sort of like the Shags. You might know Susan. I forgot her name. She taught at Berkeley, and she did a podcast. She did a YouTube tutorial on Captain Beefheart.
Oh, I'll have to check that out.
I says, what the heck? So I emailed her and I said, you want to be on my podcast? Turned out she was Prince's engineer when she was 25 for 5 albums.
That's awesome.
But then, you bring up the Shags with her. Do you know the band, the Shags?
Yeah.
And it's like these people of this ilk are like, the Shags are the greatest ever. And I just spoke with this German composer and he was just like, they got it. So it is a great, just to hear. That's who, you didn't go like the class. The Butthole Surfers are amazing, and the Residents are the other ones.
I love the Residents. Yeah. When I was a kid, they would be on Night Flight, and
Night Flight is what tweaked a lot of our brains. Yeah,
and I couldn't actually find their records anywhere at the time. It wasn't until I moved to Boston that I could actually find their records.
Yeah. And so, yeah, that's that. You said harmony. Is there any second rhythm, tone, color, or melody? Is there any hierarchy after harmony?
I tend to stick with the same timbre. It's like my
Yeah,
signature sound.
yeah.
So then I guess it's rhythm after that.
Timbre is 2, rhythm is 3.
Um, well, no, I kind of stick with the same timbre, so that's kind of consistent.
Oh, okay. So you're saying 2 is
It's
rhythm,
rhythm, yeah.
and then melody doesn't play a role, or
It does, but it tends to follow rhythm.
yeah. So this is Ravi Shankar in 56. He said, for better enjoyment of Indian music, Western audiences should forget about harmony and counterpoint and mixed tone colors and relax rather in the rich melody and rhythm.
Hmm.
Any thoughts on that?
Well, I think he meant Western harmony because there's certainly very distinctive harmony, but it's not what people in the States would have been used to hearing.
Yeah. My friend says the 3 T's of music are technique, theory, and taste. You learned how to play guitar, you know the structure. How does one acquire taste?
By listening.
Yeah. McLuhan said that song is slowed down speech. The reason cultures have different musical taste is ultimately connected to language difference. Now, there's 2 things going on. Song is slow down speech. I'm curious your thoughts on the reason cultures have different musical taste is connected to language difference. Any thoughts?
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Um, yeah.
What's more fundamental, language or music?
Um, Music is a language.
Yeah. Tell me an instrumental that makes you laugh.
Instrumental that makes me laugh. Oh, the Bugs Bunny theme song.
Oh, that's Carl Stalling. Very
Yeah.
good.
Yeah, I love Carl Stalling.
Yeah. Yeah, that was when John Zorn released the Carl Stalling albums. It really made us more aware that there was music, because I grew up watching Warner Brothers cartoons, and we didn't separate so much the soundtrack from what was going on the screen. It was almost like the screen was more important, and it just embellished it. And then, actually being in Boston, the art theater that was there produced a movie called Bugs Bunny Superstar, and it was a documentary on Bugs Bunny. And all of a sudden, they showed a picture of the band that played the music, and it was an orchestra. And we went, "What?" So
Right.
I would go like this. Have you ever watched a Bugs Bunny cartoon with your eyes shut? And people go, "No." I said, "Try it." Because you don't really hear the music as music unless you shut your eyes.
Right.
It is truly amazing. He's a scavenger composer. Charles Ives, Frank, and him, they're scavengers. They just got it from everywhere. They were teaching us.
Right.
So some of these, go ahead.
I remember when I was the first time I became aware of it when I was a kid. I got a keyboard, and I had turned on the oboe sound, and I started playing like the oboe sound, and it sounded like Elmer Fudd sneaking up, and that's when I first became aware of like what the music was in cartoon.
That Wastly Wabbit. Well, let's go into this element. You know, Thelonious Monk said, silence is the loudest sound in the universe. And so I'm curious, how do you know when not to play, incorporate silence? Your thoughts on silence in music composition?
It's the silence that makes the loud part loud.
Yeah.
You put it right before the loud part because that's what makes it loud.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to read a few silence quotes if you have anything else to add. Roscoe Mitchell said silence is perfect.
If you can achieve it. Does it really exist? I think
does.
Cage would say it doesn't.
It doesn't, and that's and funny because Cage hung out with McLuhan, and they asked McLuhan once, "Will silence ever? No, will there ever be silence?" And he says, "Things don't exist on their own; they exist in relationship."
Right.
That's exactly what you said. Okay, here's Bob Dylan. Experience teaches that silence terrifies the most.
I think that's true.
Yeah. Here's A Wee Wee, the Chinese artist. For me, silence is music.
Yeah. It's a
Yeah.
rest.
It's a rest. Yeah. People don't use that word when I asked them this. Very good. Thank you. In the last silence one is Thomas Carlyle. Speech is of time. Silence is of eternity.
That's a good one.
Yeah. Okay, now into 4/4 time. Why is 4/4 time the most commonly used time signature in Western music?
That I don't know. I guess we're just used to it.
Okay, let me read you a little and you can react.
Okay.
Besides being intuitive and easy, it might be because it's in sync with walking and marching. So one guy who's actually in the experimental music world in LA, Wayne Pete, said, we have 2 arms and 2 legs. We have 2 hands, 2 arms, 2 legs. So 4/4 time.
We have 10 fingers.
But we have 10 fingers, exactly. That should throw off this whole theory. But Frank Zappa said it's unnatural to play in 4/4 because we don't speak in 4/4.
That's true.
But one person says it's in sync with our heartbeat. Do you think our heartbeat is in a time signature?
I think our heartbeat swings.
Right. So what time signature would you say it's in?
Well, I guess it's 4 with a swing.
Yeah. And here's Captain Beefheart. He varied from what he called the mama heartbeat. He said the same old 4/4 rhythm is related to fascism. It's so fixative, so hypnotic, so synthesized, it's dangerous to the heart. It's faster than the heart. Disco is dangerous. He wanted non-hypnotic music to break us out of the canatonic state.
I don't know.
Most people freak out in the word fascist. How can a time signature be fascist? But it is. I mean, it's when they asked George Clinton, the P-Funk, who said funk is the absence of, he says there's a fine line between disco and funk. So that's are they 4/4 or are they funk's probably a little off of 4/4. Who knows?
Well, it's syncopated.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Okay, so here is
but then like all that stuff about 4, the second most common time signature is 3, and 3 doesn't fit any of those things.
What is example 3? Second most common is 3. What is what is most of your music in? What time signature? Varies or?
It varies, yeah. It's probably 4 most often, but I like to vary it.
Yeah. So this is 1969, the LA Free Press talking with Zappa. They said, you mentioned Pauline Oliveira's work with sound, above the audible and below, creating a mass, and you like the idea. And Frank said, not that it created a mass, it created something audible. It produced a some indifference tone that happened to be located within the audible frequency range. By combining something so high you couldn't hear it and something so low you couldn't hear it, it yields something in the middle that you could hear. Whether or not you liked what you heard in the middle is another question. The concept's brilliant. Any thoughts on this idea?
I don't know.
Because I heard that that's what air conditioners do. They have this sound that they make it so high and so low that you can't hear the middle so well, and it sort of cancels out. I mean, you work with volume a lot, don't you?
At times, yeah.
And so, how do you navigate that? Like, how loud am I going to be? What constitutes your volume? The room, your mood, the audience. I mean, is there various elements that help determine?
The sound engineer usually determines the volume. Whether I like it or not. But yeah, I think a lot of what happens in your ear is a function of the volume. You get extra sound in your ear when it's not just that there's more, but there's more tones interacting in your ear when it's louder.
Yeah. Do you wear earplugs?
Sometimes.
Yeah.
If I'm not in control of the volume, I wear earplugs, but I
Yeah.
think turning down is more effective.
Yeah. And you perform in front of audiences for most of your career, right?
Yeah.
Ruth Draper said, the key is to bring the audience up onto the stage and into the scene with you. It is they who must give you even more than you give them in the way of imagination and creative power. Hey, that sounds good, but how do you do that?
I think you make them feel something.
Yeah. Leonard Cohen says the only way you can sell a concert is if you put yourself at risk. And if you don't do that, people know. What role does risk play in your creative process?
Well, you can't be afraid. You can't be afraid of making an ass of yourself. I guess you have to risk embarrassment to just get up there. I don't think you have to put yourself in danger, but there is a certain danger to being in front of being outnumbered by the audience.
Well, it's funny because what does courage mean to you now?
I don't know. Because I think courage is facing a fear, and I think to be a performer, you have to not have the fear. So is it courageous if you're just not afraid?
What? How did you develop that? What was there a process, or did you learn not to have fear? How did you become fearless?
I just never learned to be afraid.
That's brilliant because when I asked Napoleon Murphy Brock, he sang with Zappa for years. I said, what role does risk play? He goes, I leave that in the dressing room. And most 99% of people go, oh, risk plays a huge part. And I'm like, well, I think with Napoleon, it was like he wanted to come out on stage and have the audience feel that he was confident. He knew what he was doing. And I mean, that what you're sort of saying is the same thing. You want to come out being fearless to the audience because yourself, you are fearless.
Yeah.
Yeah. Viola Spolin said, if the audience cannot see your struggle to achieve something, they cannot root for you to achieve it. What role does struggle play in your creative process?
Hmm. Um, the struggle comes before the show to me. For me, I have the idea, and then I figure out how to execute the idea, and then I build the chops to execute the idea. So by the time I'm on the stage, I've already done all of that. So,
Yeah.
um, I don't know if they see the struggle.
Yeah. Ben Ratliff wrote a book on Bill Frisell, and he said, I mean sound as it has long functioned among jazz players as a mystical term of art, as in every musician finally needs a sound, a full and sensible embodiment of their artistic personality, such that it can be heard at best in a single note. You know, me knowing Glenn's music a little, I could hear 4 or 5 seconds of Glenn and go, that's Glenn, you know. And you know, Ben was talking about like Miles Davis. And we could hear Miles a couple notes ago, oh, that's Miles. So he described it in 2 words. Miles was fragile and pointed. Said Coltrane is slightly undercooked and urgent. If a music writer was writing about you that you really respect and they described your music in 2 words, which 2 words would you go, hey, they got me?
Uh, Jagged and screechy, probably.
Jagged and screechy. Beautiful. And then I'm curious, this one, Paul Bley, a jazz pianist, he says, I spent many years learning how to play as slow as possible. Then I spent many years learning how to play as fast as possible. At the present, I'm trying to spend as many years learning how to play as bad as possible. My solo piano playing is a question in itself. The question is why. And after why comes what, and after what comes when. So it's a fun little quote, but my question is there's 5 W question words, or they start with the letter W. Why, when, what, who, and where. Of those 5 questions, what is most important for you, or what do you put up there as important?
Um, why?
That is the answer I get the most. Why? Yes. Have you ever studied or thought about some of these people who have created their own? I mean, you invented it, or did you invent the double-bodied harmonic guitar?
No, Glenn did.
Glenn invented it. Okay. So I don't know if you guys with Glenn or you have a theory, but there's like George Russell, who's right there near you in Boston at Conservatory. He kind of invented the Lydia chromatic concept. You know, Ornette Coleman has harmonics. You know, Cecil Taylor called his unit structures, and there's various others more avant-garde out musicians. Did you have and Glenn have a term to describe sort of your overall concept?
Um, well, he did a lot of work with the harmonic series, and that's what the double-bodied harmonics guitar is about. Um, he didn't invent that, that's a scientific phenomenon, but, he calculated it higher than anybody had at the time in the '80s.
What is
Um,
it? What does that mean? He calculated it.
well, the harmonic series is, you know, when you strike a note, the notes you hear above it, um, are in a particular order. Like, you have the fundamental, that's the first, and then the second note divides the wave in half. The third one divides the wave in thirds, the fourth divides the wave in fourths, and the more complex the fraction, the more dissonant the interval. Now, it goes on to infinity, but if you take the first 30 or so of those and you take out the octave redundancies and then you kinda round it off, you get the 12 tones of Western music. Um, his symphony number 3 was for the first 127 intervals of the harmonic series. So, and, he built and had built various instruments to play those tones. Some of them were harpsichords, some of them were harmonics guitars. I've recently recreated some of the harmonics guitars and done variations on them. But that's what the double-bodied guitar is. It's to bring out those harmonics.
Beautiful. So do you run his estate?
Yes.
And so is it hard to get orchestras and bands to play his music, or are they coming to you all the time?
I play.
You play?
Yeah, I play. I keep an exclusive on the guitar pieces. And I'm going to have some performances this year. They will be announced in a few months.
Great.
But as far as orchestral pieces, it is hard to get those played. And I do give licenses for the chamber ensemble pieces. But yeah, we will be playing the guitar pieces very soon.
And I'm curious in regards to Glenn and you. Nadia Boulanger told Quincy Jones, your music can never be more or less than you are as a human being. What do you think that means, and how would you suss that out?
I don't know. I think music should be greater than the sum of its parts.
Exactly. That's good. What do you think the motive of the cave artists, the cave musicians, the cave dancers was? What's your hunch or guess?
To tell a story.
Yeah. Do you think there's a difference between storytelling and narrative?
I think narrative is a type of storytelling.
Yeah. Because this guy who worked for Dylan, I interviewed him, and he says someone told him that narrative doesn't lie. And then one person says, no, storytelling doesn't lie.
Well, are you making a distinction between truth and fact? I mean,
Well,
you said earlier that fiction tells the truth, you know, even if it's not factual.
Yeah, well, that's beautiful, because that's Louis Buñuel saying, I'm for anyone who seeks the truth, but I part ways when they claim they found it. But you know, people love that. And then one guy goes, no, that's bullshit, because if I'm going to seek something, it's because I want to find it. So I morphed it into the question, if the journey is more important than the destination, why do we have to name or seek a destination?
I think we curate the truth.
Yeah.
I think we curate reality.
Yeah. On what occasion do you lie? That's a Marcel Proust question.
Never.
Yeah, you'll love Tom Waits says, on what occasion do you lie? He says, I didn't know I needed an occasion. But you know, that's funny, because no one ever says never. I mean, I think in 40 years, 1,000 interviews, you said it facetiously, but one person says, I don't lie. A lot of people say, I don't want to lie. I don't want to lie to myself. But it is, you know, one lady said, on what occasion do you lie? She goes, that's called manners. You know, so this is back to narrative and storytelling. Hollis Frampton. Narrative is born among the animal necessities of the spirit because we're waiting to die. So I formulated this question. Can you forget to die?
I don't remember.
You don't remember if you forget. You know, you must have taken James Joyce literally wrote in Finnegan's Wake, remember to forget. Okay, I spoke with Michael Apted, a filmmaker, 40 years ago. I says, why do rock video editors feel so obliged to edit fast? You know, that's what we were watching on Night Flight, that flicker editing. And most people don't know rapid montage was invented in 1922 by Abel Gance. But it flourished in the 80s with MTV to the point where Marty Scorsese said, hey, I cut my films faster because of MTV. So Michael Apted said, because we've learned to take in information faster. So I asked this question with a bias. Can we literally learn to take in information faster, or are we just brainwashed to believe we can?
Um, I think taking in information faster, I think that's what we do when we're in danger.
Yeah.
And I think that it's evocative in film because it makes us feel like we're in danger. It makes us feel like
Yeah.
we need to pay attention, you know?
It's good. Is it literally possible for humans to multitask?
Um, Not really.
Wow. There's no right or wrong answers to any of these questions, but that one you got right. No, I was interviewing this woman once, and I could tell. You can tell when they're doing, stuff on their computer while they're talking. And I goes, is it literally possible to multitask? She goes, yeah, I'm checking my email right now. What's more important, conviction or compromise?
Hmm. Depends.
Yeah. In your accomplishments, how do you rate these three elements, luck, skill, and ambition? What played the biggest role, second and third?
I think skill comes last. I think luck and ambition interact.
Yeah.
I think you have to recognize. I think you have to recognize opportunity. I don't think it's just pure luck. Um, but I think you do have to balance what you set out to do with what you have the opportunity to do.
Yeah.
But I think you figure out what you wanna do, and then you learn how to do it, so I think skill comes last.
It's good because golfer says the more you practice, the luckier you get. And, some people go, well, I don't like your three choices. They'll say purpose, destiny, persistence. So T.S. Eliot said poetry is outing your inner dialogue. What language is your inner dialogue in?
Music.
Yeah. Two of my film heroes have this mantra. George Manupelli says, ignore yourself. Jonas Mika says, there is no self-expression. And Cecil Taylor says, I'm just a vehicle and this stuff just comes through me. Is art making, music making more self-expression or more your vehicle for whatever technologies, cultures, and environments are dominant?
I don't know where it comes from.
Yeah.
I definitely, it comes from ideas, and I don't know where the ideas come from. I don't
Yeah.
know if they come through me or if they bounce off me or where they come from.
Yeah. I've spoke to a lot of musicians like Don Preston, still playing at 95, played with Coltrane, Zappa, everybody, and he's an improviser. And he says, don't think. And I'm like, yeah, that sounds good, but how do you not think when you have this Rolodex of licks in your head and information and references? I mean, do you consider yourself an improviser, or are you playing written music?
I'm playing written music.
Yeah.
I'm not much of an improviser. I occasionally do improv gigs with people sometimes when I'm asked, but
Yeah.
generally it's all composed.
And what do you think of that line, don't think? Is it a realistic or is it over romanticizing?
I think you practice to the point where you don't have to think.
Yeah.
Where there's a point when you know a piece where you're using a different part of your brain to play it. Where you're not actively concentrating on it, you just know it and you play it.
Yeah. Is perception reality?
Is there a way to know? All we can do is perceive.
That's one of my favorites. This guy made a fake experimental film. You got to see it. Coleman Miller, Uso Justo. You can see it online. It's amazing. So it's really good. but it's a fake experimental film. And I says, is perception reality? He goes, that's all you got.
That's all we know.
Lewis Carroll says, I believe as many as 6 impossible things before breakfast. Have you believed in any impossible things lately?
I believe in retrocausality.
What is that?
Well, I mean, there have been some experiments lately where they have people, like, look at a list of words and then remember the list, and then they have a certain group of the people look at the list again after, and those people do better on the test.
Yeah.
On the test they already took.
Yeah. Amazing. Retrocausality. I just love the sound of the word. I want to dig deeper into that. Tell me one major element of your creativeness, your music pursuits and accomplishments that's stayed the same, and one major element that's changed in the years you've been doing this.
One thing that stayed the same is I tend to play music that's hard hitting. I guess that metal is still there somewhere. Um, but I think structure is probably what's changed the most. Especially as I play solo and I'm not playing songs, the variation in the structure changes more.
Moshe Feldenkrais works with healing and movement. He says it's literally possible to identify a weakness and incorporate it to become a strength, rather than we're normally taught to overcome a weakness. Tell me a weakness you turned into a strength.
It's probably a cliche, but I think growing up poor to me taught me how to work hard and taught me how to, delay gratification. And I think that's a strength. I guess that's probably a cliche.
That's beautiful, because I sometimes ask people, where did you get your work ethic? Is that what you're talking about? Is that a work ethic?
Yeah.
Where'd you get it from?
From growing up poor.
Wow, because most people go, I got it from my parents. So you're saying it's more your environment. That's, well, that's part of it. Now, the funny thing is about work ethic is about the 3rd paragraph down on Wikipedia for work ethic. It said, this could be a scam from consumer culture.
It probably is. It probably is.
But no, I think, really the question is work ethic more innate or more invented?
I think it's product of environment.
Really? It's not in our DNA?
Well, survival is in our DNA, and how
Yeah.
hard you have to work to survive is dependent on how difficult your survival is.
Yeah. Fill in the blank. Anger can be a productive emotion when
It's not destructive.
Yeah. What's the most significant difference between men and women, physical aside?
I think it's purely cultural.
Yeah. Again, I love when I hear that. There's a line that goes, you create what you resist. Bob Goldthwait morphed it into, you are what you hate. James Joyce said, it's a curious thing how your mind is super saturated with the religion in which you say you disbelieve. And Louis Buñuel nailed it. He said, thank God I'm an atheist. So I'm curious your thoughts on this line, you create what you resist. Not you, but like one creates what one resists. Any thoughts on that line?
I think you create what you focus on.
Yeah.
I think if you're focused on what you're not, then you're only degrees of that, If that's what you define yourself as, what you're against instead of what you're for, then you can define yourself as your relation to what you're for. But if you're defined by what you're against, then you're only degrees of that.
Yeah. It's good. You're articulate and concise. I appreciate this. My friend worked with Robin Williams writing comedy, and I said, can satire be destructive? He says, that's the job of satire. And I says, yeah, but if me or you do a cartoon in a certain country and they kill us, some people think dying is destructive. So Swift compared satire to a mirror in which people could see every face but their own. What's the function of satire?
I think it's to caricature. It's to show us what we are by taking it to its least logical conclusion.
Yeah. But you have a good sense of humor, and I know you have like this satiristic kind of outlook on life, it seems to me, and you've laughed a lot. What's the roots of your humor sensibility? Were there people you saw growing up on TV or movies that helped develop a sense of humor, or what's your, the roots of your humor?
Well, I mean, if you look at my artwork, it's obviously very influenced by Tom and Jerry and uh, splatstick humor, the Evil Dead movies, the young ones, of course. Um, I tend to like funny violence in one form or another. Um, that's what I grew up on.
And what's the function of laughter?
I think it's to communicate to other people and share that same feeling of joy.
Yeah, that's good. Because Gurdjieff said, laughter is the reconciliation of yes and no. It's sort of like that made you laugh, man. I'm sure he's rolling in his grave. Someone gets it. How do you find peace of mind?
I play guitar.
How cool is that? These are 5 quick Alan Watts questions off the top of your head in just a couple words. 1, who started it all?
Adam?
2, are we going to make it?
Where?
Wait, you're answering a question with a question. You win. That's what this series is all about, inventing new questions. Number 3, where do we put it?
Up your ass. I don't know.
I love it. Most people want to say that won't say that. Thank God someone finally said it. They go, can I say this on you? You can say anything you want. But the funny thing on YouTube, they will put a line, but they don't bleep it. Like, because we're on live TV across the world right now. That's the amazing thing. I mean, okay, number 4, who's cleaning it up?
Not me.
5, is it serious?
No.
Oh my God, that is great. Okay. If you were, this is really fun. We got about 15 more minutes, and here's some more. If you were walking down the street today and you met yourself as a 12-year-old, what would you say to your 12-year-old self?
I know what you did.
This girl, this woman, I can't think of her name, but she makes these really bizarre, it's probably a cross between your paintings and they're really fun, bizarre animations. I says, what would you say to your 12-year-old self? She goes, you mean, do I have any regrets? And I goes, well, you can put it in the context you want. She goes, yeah, I'd say, quit drinking all that peppermint schnapps. No, her movies are, it's white trash got into her dad's Playboy magazines and cut them up and made a movie.
Oh, cool.
Oh yeah, when I figure out her name, she's in, I think she's in my book. Anyways, I'll send you a clip. You would love it. It's fun. Okay. Which way should toilet paper come off the roll? Over or under?
Under.
Under? Now, 99% say over. Why do you say under?
Well, because then when you roll it up, the outer part ends up on the outside.
There you go. If a publisher was going to release your autobiography, off the top of your head, what would the title be?
Are you kidding?
They want to scent the glue in the binding. What smell?
Lemon oil, I guess.
Lemon oil.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, they want to make a statue in your honor. Where would you want it displayed, and what would it be made of?
I don't know. Where would I want it displayed? I'd want it displayed in New York, and it should be made of
That's good. Tell me something good you never had and you never want.
Too much money.
That, you know, the three answers I get the most: money, fame, and heroin. If you were in a vat of vomit up to your neck and someone threw a bag of shit at your face, what would you do?
Throw it back. Isn't my vomit? I'd probably throw up some more.
No one's ever asked whose vomit it is.
I assume it's my vomit. I mean, being in a pool of vomit is a storied tradition in my profession.
What's the cultural shift you see developing today that inspires you?
I see a lot of younger people doing mutual aid and creating their own safety nets for each other and looking out for each other. And I think they're going to need that. Yeah.
I get that the most, youth and younger people. That's good. Utah Phillips, great folk singer, labor activist, said, anarchy is making rules for yourself and not other people. Who's entitled to make the rules?
I make the rules.
I have had that answer once. That's good. But it's funny because what he said is what the word freedom etymologically breaks down into: giving oneself one's own laws. So what does freedom mean to you now?
Do what thou wilt.
Yeah.
It's a cliche to quote Crowley, I suppose, but yeah, do what thou wilt.
But what do you say to people who go, well, that's like Ayn Rand or Crowley, they're being selfish? Did he really, do you think that's what they were meaning, being selfish?
No, I think he was talking about true will, like find your true will and act on it. I don't think he just meant do whatever you want. Because he did say don't interfere with someone else's will. But I think it's about acting on your true will.
Yeah. True will, though, seems like, I mean, suss that out a little. What does true will mean?
Well, I find out what you want your life's work to be, and and do that.
Yeah, I like that. Now, the word archive came about in 1400, keep safe, free from harm. But it was 1600, 200 years later, where etymologically it means records preserved as evidence. That's pretty much what we think an archive is. But Charles Baudelaire, the poet, said, if you try to make a statement long, deep, and rich, it will age very fast. If you try and only own the day you're talking, it will last forever. or as David Lee Roth said, here today, gone later today. You know, this is basically the question is archiving more innate or more invented? And do you have plans for your archives and Glenn's? Because, you know, if you take that Eastern philosophy, like from Ram Dass, it says, be here now. The whole point of life is to live in the moment. And even Wyndham Lewis said, artists live in the moment and write a detailed history of the future. Why do we have to keep all this stuff? I mean, I go to the library every day. I'm for archivists. I'm also for the futurist who said destroy all libraries and museums, that they thought that up. But I think, you know, especially you having Glenn's archive, is his archive stored somewhere? And is your archive going to be stored somewhere? If you die, do you have any plans?
A big chunk of Glenn's papers are at Northwestern. Not all of them, but a good chunk of them are there.
And did you have to peddle that to them after he died, or did he got it there before he died?
That was arranged before he died. And they came to us with an offer.
That's good. Yeah. So you do have that, but what about all his music masters and everything else?
Like the 2-inch masters I still have. They didn't take those for some reason. They were mostly interested in papers.
Isn't that funny? But do you have plans? Like if you die, what happens with those?
That I don't know. I am releasing like unreleased recordings. I've got one coming out soon. I did a Kickstarter to release Symphony No. 4, and I've got some more I want to put out. But as far as what to do with them when I die, I don't know yet.
Do you think archiving is more innate or more invented?
I think it's innate.
Yeah. What's a question that remains unresolved for you?
Why?
Yeah. How has music shaped your behavior? Playing it, writing it?
Music is my behavior.
It's good. Cut right to the chase. Music is my behavior. Well, that's funny because that's sort of Cajun and Zappa is like everything I do is music. Yeah. Thornton Wilder said, art is confession. Art is the secret told. But art is not only the desire to tell one's secret, it's the desire to tell it and hide it at the same time. You've laid your cards on the table for 90 minutes. I'm not insinuating you haven't already answered this. What's it really all about for you?
To tell it in a way that other people can feel it, even if they don't know the specifics.
Yeah, for others to feel it. You mean specifically, even though if they don't understand what's going on?
Yeah.
That's like T.S. Eliot said, poetry can communicate before it's understood.
Yeah.
That's what you mean.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's easier to make people feel something than it is to listen to something.
Yeah. What gives you the most optimism?
Music.
Yeah. We got a few more minutes, if you don't mind. Can we just do small talk about guitarists?
Okay.
Who are your 3 favorite metal guitarists?
Specifically metal guitars.
Well, you know, just like, I don't know if you want to separate shredders and metal. The people you grew up on that had an impact on you. It's not like favorite, because you might go, oh, you know, who had an impact on you growing up?
I listened to like Randy Rhoads definitely was my first guitar hero. Glenn Tipton from Judas Priest, Adrian Smith from Iron Maiden. Those were my earliest influences. But then later I got more into like Glenn's music. I got into like King Crimson. I got into like 90s Bowie was a big influence. So Reeves um and then through Glenn I found no wave, so Arto Lindsay and um Pat.
Elliot Sharp.
Yeah. Um
How about Derek Bailey and Fred Frith?
um Derek Bailey probably more so than Fred Frith. I never got really into the
Yeah.
prepared guitar thing, but yeah, Derek Bailey. That was like I didn't hear him till I was like in my 20s.
But did you study with Fripp?
Yeah, I took his course once, yeah.
And was it helpful?
Um, a lot of the not as much the playing stuff, surprisingly, but a lot of he got into a lot of the Gurdjieff stuff, and that was very.
He preaches Gurdjieff?
Oh, yeah.
I didn't know that. Wow. And how about the Crimson cover band that's touring by and Adrian Belew? Did you see him live?
I didn't see them live, but
no interest in seeing them live?
I saw The Real Thing a number of times, so I don't know.
Well, I got to tip my hat to you. You really did a great job, and somehow getting Fripp to give you great quotes and promote your music. I mean, that you should be proud of that, eh?
That was a little mind blowing, yeah.
Yeah. In any shredders now, anybody stand out now? That's I mean, now you go on YouTube now and you see these kids. It's sort of unbelievable that where shredding went. Because like my generation, when we saw Yngwie come out, we already saw John McLaughlin do it a lot better years earlier. But Yngwie has his, he's I mean, Yngwie's good. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, now, it's like they've turned it up like 3 or 4 notches with some of these kids. Any of these new people?
I'll be perfectly honest, I haven't kept up with them.
No interest.
I'm not like trying to insult them, but I'm not in that place,
Yeah. But is there any noise musicians who are up and coming? I mean, you're in a town that, do you have venues where they play more avant-garde noise stuff? Or
yeah, there's a guy person called Dream Crusher who I'm a big fan of. I guess they've been around a good bit, but I don't know. There's a band from Utah called Seeking the Sun that I found online that I think is interesting.
Yeah. Well, it's sure been fun. I ask people, the first question is, what's the best thing for a human being? Wilhelm Reich said the best thing for a human being is another human being. And the last question is, what gives you the most optimism? And that's what they asked Groucho Marx at the end of his life. And he says, other people. So it's sure been fun spending this time with another person, especially because it was you. Thank you so much for your time and energy, and your music's again just mind-blowing, because I'll tell you, there's one filmmaker, because I've studied experimental film for decades, and there's one filmmaker who kind of articulated what I heard you articulate in one of your YouTube interviews. His name's Bruce Conner, and he says, why'd you make movies like this? He says, because I didn't see anyone else making them like that. And yeah, I mean, that's sort of like, yeah, I can, there's this thing called rooted in retro. You could say, I'm a retro metal band, or I'm rooted in retro metal, and I'm taking it, trying to take it further. But I think what you do is just like way beyond that. It's like, what in the heck is in you're a visionary. You say, this is what I'm going to pursue, and I'm going to find the community that can help pursue it. Because to do that, like, you know, Charles Ives kind of changed music in America, but he had something to fall back on. Like the classic parent thing. You better have something to fall back on. So I really appreciate what you do, and thank you so much.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Yeah, and even though I'm going to hit the end broadcast button, I hope this never ends and we can keep talking forever and ever. All right. Bye.
Bye.